I just dropped out of college. I was one semester into pursuing a computer science degree at Butler, and then I had the bright idea to sign up for a 6-year enlistment for the Air Force. 3 years into that enlistment, I was really enjoying it until I deployed, and I wasn't enjoying it as much. I was working 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week, and it was 115 degrees out there. I just wasn't really having a good time. I hated everything about my environment, and I just felt so stuck, like I made a wrong decision. I took all that frustration that I had and I just like funneled it into figuring out how I was going to make a change in my life. But at this point in my life, I didn't know much else besides working in the military. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So before I dropped out of college, I knew I liked that like computer science class I took. It was a C++ class. I didn't pay attention, but I was really proud of the few lines of code that I wrote. And I had a brother that was working in tech at Expedia, and he had a really cool, interesting life, I think. So I thought to myself, this could be a career change. Let me look into the software engineering thing. So I cracked open my laptop and I started looking up software engineering, day in the life of a software engineer. What do software engineers do? I was just like enthralled. Like I saw the lifestyle, I saw the salary, I saw the things that they got to do at work, and I was like, this looks amazing. But I don't want to go back to college. I don't want to do another 3 to 4 years of college. I can't see myself doing that. I tried it and it wasn't for me. So I opened my laptop once more, and what I found was just pure gold. And where do you find gold these days? You Google it. So I Googled how to become a software engineer without a degree. And if you could believe it, videos popped up, people popped up. There were people who have become software engineers and they didn't go to college, and I was like, yes, I want to do that. So the YouTuber that I found specifically who became a software engineer without going to college, he goes by the name of Chris Sean. So I was hooked. I just completely binged his content. I watched every single one of his videos so I could dissect and understand what he did, because if he can do it, I can definitely do it. So what I did next is what I recommend to everyone who's trying to learn a new skill, who's trying to learn how to code. You got to realize that your mama's lying to you. You're not that special, and that's good for you in this case. There's already someone ahead of you who has achieved what you're trying to achieve. They went through all of the hurdles, and if you're lucky, they documented that process. And most likely, those steps that they took are the same steps that you're going to need to take to achieve what they achieved. So finding someone's strategy and their plan and recreating it takes away a lot of the guesswork, which saves you a lot of time and kind of ensures that you're on the right path to success. So after hours and hours of just binging Chris Sean content, I think I figured out his whole plan. He took a course online, he practiced and applied everything he learned, and then he tried his hardest to get his foot in the door anywhere he could. That sounds pretty doable, but this whole time that I'm watching this Chris Sean content, I'm in the desert. I'm in the Middle East. I didn't know my internet situation, so I brought this book out with me, which is Head First Python. And I used this book to understand the like ins and outs and the basics of programming languages. And it was in this book that I realized that I don't like books. Like I can't. It's like such dry content. I'm falling asleep while I'm trying to read it. And it was just, this learning style wasn't for me. But at the time, this is all I had. I was literally writing lines of code like on paper and trying to figure out if I understand how to code, if I understand the concepts in this book. So while this book was like amazing at teaching me the basics of like strings and loops and whatnot, I couldn't really connect with that content. It didn't really get me excited. So now I thought, well, just coding is not for me, because I tried the college thing, I tried reading from books and teaching myself, and it's not clicking. But after talking to some folks out there, I realized we did have some internet hubs, so we could connect to the internet. Is going to be really slow, like 1 megabit per second, but we could connect to the internet. So I tried one more thing. Let me try learning like Chris Sean did with this online video course style. So I searched best online courses and a course popped up. It was $30 at the time and I bought it. I took it. The instructor's name was Colt Steele and he was amazing. I really connected and respected his teaching style, and I was like leaning forward and engaged throughout like all of his coursework. And that was like a huge monumental thing that I learned about myself. I don't like learning in classrooms. I don't really like self-teaching from books, but if I have like an online instructor, I think I can rock with that. So after working my 12-hour shifts, I would come home to my shipping container, and this would be my station. This is where I would practice day in and day out HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and just try to be a sponge and learn as much as possible. I practiced, I learned, and I studied every single day for 4 months straight. And it even got to the point where I figured out I could practice coding at work. I just had to open up a browser, head to the console, and I could practice some of the algorithms that I had learned the night before. So after months and months and months months of grinding day in and day out and just immersing myself in a life of code and programming, it was time to head back to the States. So when I got back to my life in Florida and I was going through all of the emails that I just completely missed, I noticed that there was a team in my office that was looking for people that knew HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And at this point, I only had 4 months of experience and I didn't feel ready for any type of job. But remembering back what Chris Sean did, he got his foot in the door as soon as possible. And I thought this could be my way of getting my foot in the door. So I applied for this front-end developer position and I got it. So I made an internal transfer and I started working as a software developer. Working might be a stretch. I was just sitting down at my computer and just like staring at lines of code, trying my hardest to be helpful. And it wasn't until the senior engineer who worked there, Greg, like sat me down and was like, yo, what's going on? How can I help you? And I just had to admit, like, yo, I don't know how I can be helpful. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to grow. And he just was like, oh, let me take you under my wing and let me show you everything that I know. And this moment right here of just finding a mentor just took me leaps and bounds than anything I could have ever hoped to achieve by just taking online courses. Like working with someone that has already done the thing skyrocketed my career. So after about 8 months of working day in and day out with this amazing senior software engineer, I was feeling pretty confident. I could navigate my way around code, debug, solve problems, add new features. I was feeling good. This is great. I'm like a real developer at this point. I was just getting over my imposter syndrome for my first job when my mentor looked at me and was like, yo, you trying to go to LA and work with VMware and Space Force? And I was like, of course, what do I need to do? That sounded great. So I applied, I interviewed, and I somehow landed this apprenticeship in Santa Monica. So I packed my bags and I moved to Los Angeles to figure out how to become a full stack software engineer. And let me tell you, I've never felt so defeated, so much like an imposter, so dumb than when I was at this apprenticeship.
Dummy, you bean-headed burrito, gooey git, using 40 word per minute, typing brute force, looping, yuck mouth.
So within my first weeks of starting my new apprenticeship, I quickly realized that I knew how to program, but I didn't know how to be a software engineer. I didn't know how to write tests. I didn't know how to use version control. I didn't know what to say in stand-up. I didn't know a lot of these other skills that are required other than just coding. But once again, someone on my team by the name of Austin knew that I like really wanted to dive into this world and become better, and he took me under his wing. So for the next 6 months, for 8 hours a day, we just pair programmed. I would write a test and he would write the code. He would write the code and I'd write the test. And I just learned so much just working right next to someone who has already been a software engineer for years and years. This was just an incredibly valuable experience. So at the end of that apprenticeship, I was feeling good about my skills as a software engineer. I knew React, MySQL, Kotlin, CI/CD. I was feeling great and I was feeling confident, but it was time to head back to Florida, so I did. And I wanted to share everything I learned with other soldiers, other people, so I created a free boot camp. I hired new software engineers on my team. And it was through this that I realized that I like training and teaching and helping other developers achieve what they're trying to accomplish a lot more than creating new features, which is why recently I made a slight career pivot and now I'm a developer advocate full-time. Thanks so much for watching and listening to my story, and I'll see you on the next one.